Dive gear has come a long way since Jacques Cousteau and his cronies explored the ocean with the first demand valve breathing apparatuses. The human spirit never stops, and underwater exploration has gotten more and more demanding for both dive gear and divers. Regulators have come a long way, but for the last decade or so, innovation seems to have stagnated a bit. New iterations of regulators tend to be little more than a cosmetic upgrade or boast performance improvements that your average diver can't even perceive during the dive. But that might be about to change. Welcome back to Dive Vibe. Today we're taking a look at some regulators from NEX Underwater Products. Designed and assembled in California, NEX Underwater Products is the new kid on the block as far as regulators go. But they're already making some waves over at Scuba Lab with a 2022 Tester's Choice Award and the Best Buy Award in 2023. Pretty respectable. I was personally particularly interested in these rigs because of their modular design, but more on that later. I was sent a side mount reg set for review by NEX, and I am under no obligation to provide a positive review. My opinions are my own, and NEX will not see this video prior to its posting. And they were very clear that they wanted an honest review anyway. Now that I've been diving these regulators for a few months, it's time to find out if they really are something special, or if they're just a gimmick. So, right off the bat, these are high-performance regulators. I tend to review a lot of budget gear on this channel, and that's because one of my missions is to try and make diving more accessible for people. And unfortunately, I don't think that regulators are one of those things that you should skimp on. They're your life support equipment. I think they're important. I don't personally buy cheap regulators. I buy high-end regulators. And usually in the long run, that saves you money because they tend to last and require less repair parts. So yes, these are high-performance regulators, not a budget product. And that's exactly how they perform. They are excellent. Now, what everybody's been waiting for, and what excites me the most about these regulators, is their modular design. There are a lot of options. I mean, first of all, you've got color options like this PVD-coated blue first stage, which is really awesome looking. I was worried that it wouldn't hold up as well as the chrome does because the chrome looks really amazing. This is not your garden variety chrome. This is a step above. Their chroming process is nice. And you can also get your second stages in different colors. You can get white, black, all kinds of stuff, different colored purge covers. Sky's the limit. You can make them look however you want. But what really makes them different and what really makes them shine is the fact that you can buy these as just a basic first stage with no swivel, no fifth port, and you can use it like that. And then one day, if you decide that you want to start diving side mount and a swivel turret would be really nice for you, you can add that on. That comes with a fifth port. Or if you just want a fifth port for whatever reason, you can add the fifth port on. And vice versa, if you need a smaller first stage for whatever reason, you can downgrade them, remove the fifth port, remove the turret, and just have a basic first stage again. And that probably answers one of the questions that I've been getting a lot about these regs, and that is, why are there so many ports on them? Well, you've got your 2 high pressure ports, and those aren't going to move, but you've also got 4 low pressure ports on the body of the first stage. Now, if you opt to have the swivel turret, you're going to have 4 more ports on the swivel turret itself, and then what we call a fifth port off the bottom here. And you can also just have the fifth port, obviously, but once you do that, most people aren't going to be using the ports that are on the body other than the high pressure ports, but there are some instances where you might want to, like with my Sidewinder, so I can have my inflator hose from my MAV, instead of having it run right off the top when the second stage and everything is stowed, I can actually run it off the bottom, how it's going to be oriented during the dive, by using one of these fixed ports, not on the swivel turret. That way I can have my second stage coming off of the swivel turret so I can easily rotate that up and around my neck when I'm ready to start diving. Now, I don't know if I'm saying that you should go out and get these regs and replace your Scuba Pro Mark 25s or whatever, but if you're looking for new regs, that could be a good selling point if you're a Sidewinder diver. Now, you might think, wow, with all those extra ports, that's a lot of failure points. But these are static O-rings in these ports, and static O-rings very rarely, if ever, fail. They are extremely secure once they're screwed in there. I mean, everybody's got plugged ports on their regulators. In addition to all those options, you also have your choice of second stages. I've got the 2 and the 2.5 here. These are both balanced, adjustable second stages with venturis to prevent free flow. They both breathe really well. In fact, I would say that I really can't tell the difference. So if you prefer a smaller second stage, don't be afraid to go for the smaller 2. Or if you prefer a bigger second stage, go for the 2.5. Personally, I tend to prefer a larger second stage because I have a big ass head. This small one looks a little bit weird on my face, but it breathes every bit as good as its larger counterpart. So I see no need to replace it. I don't really care what I look like underwater. And with all this modularity, I think the thing that makes it really work for me is the fact that while these do look a little bit larger than your average first stage, they really aren't that much larger than your average Mark 25. And once it's on your tank, you're not going to notice a difference. They weigh a little bit more. It's not a whole lot. So that little bit larger first stage gets you all the same performance and much more features, much more customizability, in my personal opinion. And if all that customizability wasn't enough for you, NEX actually got their start doing custom hoses. So they can do up whatever kind of hose you want, rubber, flex hoses, you can get double swivel hoses, you can get a ball swivel on the end. I don't typically like ball swivels myself, but the ones they use are similar to the atomic swivel, which I think is the better design on the market. I've never seen one of those atomic swivels explode underwater. I definitely cannot say that for all swivels. And most of their fittings are available in a black coating as well, which looks really sick. But NEX is all about customizability and modularity. Even their simple piston regulator is going to be modular eventually. They're machining a body so that it can have all the ports pointed in one direction, which would make it very nice for a rebreather with inverted cylinders. If you look at the Hollis Prism 2, they come with a little piston regulator and all the ports are pointing up so that they route cleanly to where they need to go on the rebreather. It's a really nice way to set up regs for a back mount CCR. And like I said before, all this modularity is why I was interested in NEX Regulators in the first place. These regulators are extremely easy breathing. I could measure the cracking effort at work on the Magna Helic, but that's a little bit misleading. When you purchase a regulator from a dive shop, they should be setting it up for you, and the best shops are going to tune the regulator to the manufacturer's spec or whatever you ask for. Some shops tune all their regs to something specific. I personally like to set my personal regs at a 1.3, which I've set these at. So if I put them on a Magna Helic, they're going to read 1.3. But if you gave me 2 second stages, one set at 1.2 and one set at 1.4, I doubt I could tell you which is which without a Magna Helic. Maybe. That actually might be a good video idea. So take that for whatever it's worth. Just know that these regs will supply all the gas you could ever need and then some. When I was in Mexico, I was using these regs on my side tanks, and for my stage tank, I was using an older Mark 25 with an S600 second stage. And to be totally honest, I preferred the breathing on my NEX regulators. I was kind of happy when I was done with the stage and got to switch to my side tanks. So I'd say that I'm more than satisfied with the level of performance. Perhaps even impressed. Jared, the head honcho over at NEX, the guy that I spoke with when we were ironing out the details for this product review, told me that he was not at all interested in purchasing a good review. He wanted an honest review. So when I told him I was going to take these regs to Mexico and beat the shit out of them, his attitude was, bring it on. I like that. So if you want to see what these regs look like out of the box, check out the unboxing video that I did, because all the B-roll in this video was shot after the Mexico cave trip, just to show you how they hold up to some serious abuse. The coatings are top-notch, the chroming's nice, the PVD's nice, and they held up extremely well in such a hostile environment. I was actually worried that the PVD coating might not hold up super well. I've seen varying levels of success with those, but it looks great after the trip. And like I said, I was not nice to these regulators. The coatings are extremely durable and hard wearing. The second stages look pretty much brand new. I was worried that the white might start to fade, but they look great so far, which is cool because I really like a white second stage. I think it's a good idea because they stand out so well against all your black dive gear. But it's not yellow, so it doesn't look like it's your octo, you know? So if somebody needs to get a reg off of you for some reason or another, it's easier for them to see, right? So let's talk about cost. Like I said before, these are not cheap regulators. They're not budget regulators. They're good regulators. So where do they sit? What price point are they at? Well, they're somewhere kind of between Apex and Scuba Pro. And in some ways, they're still a little bit below Apex in price. So if you look at a XTX50 DST setup, you're looking at like $650 for a first stage and second stage. That doesn't come with the fifth port, not really comparing apples to apples. But if you're looking at the newer Apex regulators, the MTX-R and all the other variants of that, then you're kind of comparing something that's a little more similar. You know, it's got a fifth port already. It's more modern. It's very high end. It's got great performance. And those come in at $950. And I think a Scuba Pro Mark 25, which is what I would compare this to, although they're, you know, not the same type of design, it just kind of does a similar thing. Those are about $1,100, a little bit less. NEX regulators, if you're getting this regulator, as you see, fully kitted out with the turret, fifth port, and environmental seal, you're going to be spending $825 and like 74 cents. With the second stage. So they're a little bit more expensive than an XTX50, but less expensive than Apex's higher end stuff and less expensive than Scuba Pro. So pretty good deal, in my opinion. If you go to their website and look at the catalog, they also offer all different kinds of packages where you can get some really good deals. Usually they amount to getting like a second stage for free if you're buying a big package. So definitely check those out if you're interested. You can save some serious money there. Now, the basic Monterrey first stage without the swivel and the fifth port is just $500, which is, I'd say, just about right. So if you want to start there and upgrade, you totally can. That's an option for you. But overall, I think these rigs are priced pretty well. You know, they're definitely not cheap, but they're also not super expensive. So that works for me. If you watch the unboxing video, you'll know that I asked for any questions that anybody might have so that I could answer them in this video. So anything that I haven't already talked about, I'm going to talk about now with some of the questions that I've taken from my YouTube comments. They look really nice, but how do they compare to the DST XTX50s? Can we buy them in Europe? And what is the serviceability of those regs? Great questions. In my opinion, they're as good, maybe even better. And there's a whole lot of options as far as customizability goes, which is awesome. Currently, you cannot buy them in Europe, but they are working on the CE rating. It is in process, so eventually you will be able to purchase them in Europe. And as far as servicing goes, you can get them serviced at dive shops, send them back to NEX, or you can self-service if you want to in the future. That's coming. I'm sure you'll cover these without my asking, but I'll ask anyway. Balanced or unbalanced? Yes. So all the stuff that I'm using is balanced. With the environmental seal, the first stage is actually overbalanced. The second stage is balanced, all great breathers. Are they environmentally sealed? The default first stage is not environmentally sealed as you buy it, but you can add the environmental seal like you would add the fifth port or the swivel turret. And truly the crux of where I am going, how are they for cold water diving? Which I'm sure will be difficult for you to test in Hawaii, but is a real concern in landlocked Prairie Canada. That is a great question. And lucky for me, I have a vast network of friends and acquaintances all over the world, basically, and I can pull information from them at will. So I spoke with one of my friends out at Dive Alaska, and they are having a great time with these NEX regulators, and they're working perfectly for them. The owner of the company, Jared, is also a very avid cold water diver. He's done a seriously respectable amount of Arctic diving, so I'd say cold water approved. Apart from their performance, which I hope you're planning on addressing, sorta, things I'd like to know. Are they O2 compatible, or can they be made O2 compatible? The regular regs are nitrox clean out of the box, but they can be made O2 compatible. What's NEX's service policy? Can I service my own NEX regs if I were to buy some? Yes, you can. So, to add a little bit more to that, NEX is planning to have a online service course on their website so that you can take that course and then service your own NEX regulators, which I think is awesome. I also had someone asking if they're compatible with regulator kits from other manufacturers. And no, it's not like a DST clone or something like that, so it is not compatible with any other kits on the market. You'll need NEX kits. And then of course I had a ton of questions about why there are so many ports on the regulator. I feel like I addressed this, but just to go over it one more time. There are so many ports on the regulator because once you've added the swivel, that gives you 5 additional ports, and you're not really going to use the other 4 low pressure ports that were already on the regulator, except for certain special circumstances, or if you just want to. So at this point, you can probably tell that I'm a pretty big fan of these regulators. Really, after I took them to Mexico and had such a great time with them, I think that these are going to be my daily drivers for my diving. I'm going to be using them for a bailout on my Sidewinder and anytime I'm using side mount regs. I definitely look forward to working with NEX in the future, and I'm excited to see what they come out with next. Nice. Huge thanks to all my supporters on Patreon. They make videos like this possible. If you would like to support Dive Vibe and gain access to some exclusive content and get your name at the end of every video, then you can follow the link to Patreon in the pinned comment below and receive my eternal gratitude. Thanks for diving with me today, and I'll see you in the water.